What we're going to do is we're going to create a new topic here, and then we're going to use a template. And the template is the language learning template that we've created for you. So it's here, so you just click it, and then you click use this template. And this basically guides you through all of the steps from complete beginner to C2 full fluency level. So let's just do that. And then it will load. And now we basically created our own copy of this language learning template. So now we can start editing it and going through it. And so some of the main principles that this template is based on is first of all, like directness, which is like you directly want to practice what you want to learn, right? If you want to learn to speak, then you should practice speaking. If you want to learn to read, then you should practice reading. So that's one of the main principles we're using here. And then I see Victor said already used RamNote, Notion, Taskade, but would like to switch to Traverse shortly to learn and make a course. Okay, yeah, that's certainly a good option, because once you've been through this, you can also publish that and share it with others. Maybe we'll get to that today as well. But yeah, let's have a look at the template first. So yeah, this is just some description. Can go to the next page. As you see, as we click next, it just kind of goes like it traverses this mind map here. So the template is laid out as like a tree or a mind map kind of way. And yeah, as described here, there are some of those are just notes, and we can edit them, or we don't really need to do anything. But then some of those have actions associated with them as well. So let's just continue going through it. And then, yeah, the first one, and yeah, let's do this together. I think we already might have some ideas to define the goal for learning our language, right? Because if we learn a language just to go on a holiday trip, our approach will be very different than when we learn it because our husband or wife is from another country. So I think, Mark, that might be your motivation. Victor, what's your motivation for learning? What's your language learning goal? And Mark, also feel free to elaborate. It's like, would you like to communicate with your wife's family, or would you write yourself in Mandarin, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not really ready to answer this. Right now, our relationship language is English. So, and it is because I'm so lazy, because English is more easy. So I need to find a motivation. And of course, the goal setting would be very important. I think you're right, like have a conversation with the parents, but also with the partner. So also by learning the language, I think learning the culture and those tones in between, I think especially Chinese is very important to find that, to close the gap, to have a better communication in the sense of understanding. That's my goal, I think.
Yeah, that's very close to like my goal for learning Chinese as well. So yeah, maybe let's just take that as an example and write it down here. So for example, you write down here, like, my goal is to learn. So then you can cross that off. And now related to that goal, okay, I see Victor answered as well. Norwegian can help at work. German can be used for personal interests, especially the music related ones. That's interesting. Maybe like classical music, a lot of famous German composers. But yeah, once we have defined our goal, like, we need to break it down into little steps to actually get there, right? So we need to be very clear on how much time we actually have to dedicate to language learning. So that's going to be the next part here. Like, we're going to create a weekly schedule of active focus time and passive time. So yeah, there's basically two kinds of time that you need. Active focus time is when you actually sit down on your computer, you go through new content, for example, you write flashcards. So that just requires focus time, right? But then there's also passive time. So this is, for example, you found a podcast in Chinese or in Norwegian or whatever, and you just listen to that podcast without really thinking anything, and you can do this while doing something else, while you're in maybe on the train or when washing dishes or whatever. So that's like the passive time that we need as well. So yeah, these two time blocks is what we need to define on a weekly basis. So for example, here I've defined like 1 hour of active focus time in the evening, whereas I maybe have like half an hour of commutes in the morning and in the evening as well, which I can use to do like passive study. So yeah, that's something that you should define for yourself. Let's not fill out this whole schedule now because it's going to take too much time, but yeah, think about that and define your schedule basically. And once you've done that, you're basically clear on what your goal is and how much time you have on going to achieve that. So that's when you can start preparing. Because yeah, as you see, this is broken down into the like European reference framework steps. But we added one step at the beginning, which is A0, which is like before starting to learn anything, you need to do some basic preparation first. And that's just to learn the basics of the language so that we know what to expect. And we can start to immerse in the language. We go through that very quickly. Yeah, so the basics of this is we'll create spaced repetition flashcards. So yeah, Mark, we already talked about how you use spaced repetition flashcards to learn like medical stuff. I think Victor also mentioned like RemNote, which has spaced repetition flashcards. So yeah, it works very, very similar. And then the flashcards we're going to create, we're going to leverage the 80-20 principle. It basically says that 20% of the words in any language make up 80% of the speech. So it's very, very powerful if we just know this 20% of the words. And in practice, that means for most languages that we need to learn like the 1,000 most commonly used. So basically the next step is going to be, you find a list of 1,000 most common words for your target language. You can find it on the internet. So maybe let's, as an example, use German. Oh, Victor is, oh, Sunny is here as well with camera. How are you, Sunny?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Which language do you want to learn?
Yeah, good, Dominic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, perfect. Man, I've got a streaming set up. So yeah, no, I thought I'd jump on your class. So I really like your software and I look forward to. I've been learning like what you're picking up now.
Cool. So
excellent platform. Yeah, thank you.
Nice. So which language do you want to learn, Sunny? Any particular one?
So I'll be honest, I'm treating your language class like I'm doing computer programming language. So I'm learning Java at the moment. So I'm going to use the concepts that you teach here and try and apply it to a programming language.
Right.
So yeah, I've got 8 employees coming on by March 2022. And I'm just basically learning to code more and more now. So I'm going to use your system to learn coding and also use it for training my employees. So I'm just trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, that should definitely work as well. And the principles are all the same. So yeah, let's take a look at the most common words that we found. So I found this for German. So that's this step done, right? We just need to find the list and then we can start creating flashcards for those. And now important thing is like you don't want to overload your system with flashcards. So you just add a couple of flashcards a day. I recommend like around 10 or 11. And then every day you add some more and you review the ones that you've already added. So let's do that. So yeah, here we have some examples already for French, but suppose that we wanted to learn German instead. Let's see. Okay, that actually works. So now we have this full table here, but yeah, as I said, we don't want to add all of the flashcards in one go, but just let's just add 1 or 2 as an example. So the most common, which means S. So yeah, we just, well, that's too much. Yeah, we just click the flashcard button here. It's at the bottom as well. And there's a keyboard shortcut as well. If you just use command and slash, oh, somebody else is joining. So yeah, we just added flashcards, maybe something like that. Hello, Katina, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you? Thanks
for good.
Late start. Kids gotta go to school. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I think there might be some more late joiners as well. Which language are you trying to learn, Katina?
Chinese, Mandarin.
Oh, nice.
I live in a city that's 80% Chinese speaking. So Arcadia, California.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm learning Chinese as well. Mark here is learning Chinese as well. So yeah. So maybe we can focus a bit more on that. Actually, the flashcard I'm just creating is for German, but yeah, let's create a Chinese one. So yeah, we were just talking about before starting to learn a language, we're doing some preparation. And one of the main things is we're creating flashcards for the 1,000 most commonly used words in the language. That just gives us a head start. And we basically do this like 10 flashcards at a time, so we don't overload ourselves with new flashcards. Right, so these were the ones from the language learning. They are for French, but yeah, I just added one for German here as well. Let's just do one for Chinese as well. So, I mean, Chinese is a bit different because we have characters and we have words, right? But let's just suppose we are looking for a list of the most common words in Chinese. Okay, maybe not. Well, and let's just add flashcards here. So, for example, I guess one of the common words is bo, which is like me. So let's add that one. So you will do something like this. And just create that flashcard, right? And yeah, you see that as we create these flashcards, they're automatically added to our reviews. And the reviews is, as you mentioned before, spaced repetition. So yeah, let's just, as an example, review some of those. Actually, let's get a bit of those French ones, because I don't think there's anybody here wanting to learn French. So yeah, just to show you what reviewing those flashcards will actually look like, just press the blue button here, which shows us all of the flashcards due for today. And yeah, it's just a simple question answer pair. So I try to recall the answer. I can do it in my head, or I can type it out. Doesn't really matter. Then you check it and you basically rate yourself. So if it was correct, you will repeat it again very soon. Sorry, if it was incorrect, you will repeat it again directly. And if it's correct, then it basically repeats the next day, but those intervals are increasing. So if you have it correct today and tomorrow it's correct again, next time will be in 6 days, and so on. This is basically the principle of spaced. And yeah, if we do custom repeat here, we actually have more options to customize that as well. So this one might be very easy, maybe. Here, German, E, English, S. You can rate that one as well. So that's the basic idea of doing your spaced repetition flashcards. And then, as I said, the first flashcards you're going to create are those for 1,000 most commonly used words in your language. All right, so that's in terms of vocab. Then we might want to add flashcards for written language as well. So, for example, yeah, if you're learning German, you're going to have stuff like, well, you know, like the O with the 2 dots on top, A, and so on. So maybe you want to remember those, so you create flashcards for those as well. Then, of course, Chinese is a whole other story, because yeah, in Chinese you actually have characters. So written language is going to be, if you want to learn it, it's going to be a major part of where you have to put your efforts. And so yeah, that's right here. You want to create flashcards for characters as well. So there's an example here as well already. So E character is just a flat bar. So yeah, this is where you could start adding flashcards for the characters of the language. Now, sometimes, even though we have the spaced repetition and we have flashcards, we still keep forgetting stuff, right? Especially with Chinese, I know it's very hard to remember a character. So we can use mnemonics as well. And those mnemonics, we can just add to the flashcards. For example, yeah, if it's a normal Latin alphabet language like German, you could use the keyword methods, basically based on how the word sounds. You come up with the story in your native language. So there's an example here, for example, boca is Portuguese and Spanish. So I could come up with a story that uses the English words like boom and cat, boom, cat, boca. It's almost the same. So I come up with this funny story where there's a cat who holds a piece of dynamite in its mouth. It explodes, makes the sound of kaboom. And yeah, you can add those stories to the flashcards that we just created. Of course, for Chinese, it gets even more interested because we have the characters. So, for example, the character for peaceful. I don't know, like Mark and Katina, are you learning Chinese characters as well, or just trying to learn speech?
Trying to learn the characters too, along with the. So I write. I've been writing a lot. So.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think speech is probably easier to begin with. Maybe once you get further, you might want to learn characters as well. So yeah, just add as an example here, say that we want to remember the character for peaceful. Well, maybe we want to learn it this way. So and yeah, let's say we created this flashcard, but then we keep forgetting it. So then we can add a mnemonic story to remember it better. For example, yeah, this character An is actually made out of the characters for house and woman. So we can create like a story about a woman who lives peacefully in a house. So that means house plus woman together means peaceful.
Could I also enter a picture in the question and answer area of the flashcard?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, let's actually maybe if you want to have like a stroke GIF, for example. Actually, I think yeah, copying GIFs is a bit problematic. But yeah, you can either save this and upload it, or you can just copy it. I think if you copy it, it will come out that. Yeah, but if you save it and then you upload it here, then you will actually have the correct moving GIF. And same goes for audio as well. So if you wanted to add audio here, you can upload audio, or you can also use like an audio link and save that. So yeah, that's especially useful for remembering vocabulary, of course. Yeah, actually here we have an example where there's audio. And this is about flashcards to remember I'll go through those very, very quickly because we don't have that much time. So for example, if there are very similar sounds in the language that you struggle with, For example, in French, there would be comment and comment. So you can create a minimal pairs flashcard for that. Basically, it just works like this.
Comment.
Plays the sound. You listen and you think, oh, well, is it the first one or the second one?
Comment.
And then yeah, it gives you the answer. So that's something you can do to improve your pronunciation. Then in terms of grammar, I recommend to do do some preparation, but do the absolute minimal. So just skim quickly through the target language grammar rules, and then later when you actually start to immerse in the target language, you can always come back to those and try to memorize the rules that you need. But yeah, do as little as possible initially, and only when you actually need it, add more grammar. So at this point, we've finished the preparation a bit. So you can actually start to dive into the language, and most of that is just immersing yourself in the target language. So that means listening to the language, reading the language. Ideally, you know a native speaker of the language as well. So you try to find one who is willing to speak with you very patiently, and who you can then practice speaking with, and also you can try to imitate their way of speaking, so you will sound like a native speaker as well. So that's all of the different parts that we have in terms of immersion. And I think there's one interesting bit that might be interesting to walk through now. It's like a final part of that session. And then afterwards, I will give some time for questions, which is basically the process of sentence mining. So we're going to find content in our target language. So that can be like a podcast, or it can be like a TV show or something. Then we're going to watch that content. And we're gonna do sentence mining, which is we see if there's any words or sentence in that content that prevents us from understanding. Like if we don't know the word, but we can still understand what the story is about, it's all right. We don't really need to put that up. But if it's really preventing us from understanding what it's about, then we might want to sit down, create a flashcard for that word, and actually learn it, so that next time we come across it, we will understand immediately. So let's just do that now. Yeah. Let's find a very simple piece of content, maybe in Chinese, because a lot of people here are learning Chinese, and then go through that process of sentence mining. So yeah, does anybody have an idea for some Chinese content? I don't know, let's take it like it's a children's song, maybe. Easy Chinese children's songs and conversations. That looks good. 10 minutes remaining in this meeting. Just gonna copy that link. So let's say, I found a piece of content. I'm just going to call it Chinese children's song 1. Then in here, I can simply paste my content. So in this case, it's YouTube, so it will be embedded. And then, yeah, ideally this content, I don't know if this has it, but ideally you will have both the audio and the subtitles in the target language, so in Chinese in this case, at the same time, so that you can practice both listening and reading, and it kind of reinforces each other. I think that's not available for this. Yeah, so there is actually subtitles here. So yeah, then we see those words, right? And maybe like saying 大家好, and maybe we have no idea what 家 means, for example. So what we would do in that case, then we would start to mine that sentence. So yeah, we know like 大 is big, 好 is good. What does 家 mean? But maybe we don't know. So in that case, if we don't understand the sentence, and we would create a flashcard for that. So just create a flashcard for that word, and maybe again you want to add a picture here, or insert audio as well. Do something like that, and then we would have to look this up, obviously, because we don't know it, but it means house. Actually, it's an interesting case because 大家, of course, has a slightly different meaning. But that's the basic idea of sentence mining. So from the content that we go through, we pick out stuff that we don't know yet and create flashcards for that. Right, and then those flashcards will be added to our daily review, so it will pop up there, and that will improve our understanding of those words. And then a really good practice is to, once we went through this whole song, we created all of those flashcards, then a few days later we will have reviewed those flashcards a couple of times, and then we do like the passive rewatching of the content. So this Chinese children's song, maybe we are washing dishes or on transit, and then we just hit play and let this play in the background. And then we can notice the difference of having practiced all those words, how much more we recognize than the first time we listened to it. So that's the basic idea of doing this immersion and doing the sentence mining, all right? So yeah, I think that's as far as I will go right now, because yeah, the other stuff is more about speaking, writing, but it follows the same kind of principles. So maybe I will just open up the rest of the time for you to ask any questions that you might have, or any problems that you struggle in trying to learn. I'll take Sunny's question here first. Best advice for learning code? Yeah, to work on a project I will enjoy. And I will definitely say the same here as well for language learning. So try to find content that you actually enjoy. Now, in the beginning, that might be a bit tricky, because like very, very easy content is usually like, like children's shows or like actual language learning content, and it's not very natural yet. So maybe it's not as enjoyable. But then as soon as you get to like A2 and B2, actually try to pick one area that you find really interesting. So maybe I will learn about programming, for example. So I read Chinese programming blogs. I do that kind of content because I already have the background knowledge. So it will be much easier for me to understand and pick that up. And I will stay motivated because I'm actually interested in the content. Yeah, and then great idea, reading a book along the way. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, the flashcard reminder emails. Yeah, so that one of the main things is consistency, right? So we've created those flashcards. We schedule our time to learn a language, and then we have to actually stick to it. And the good idea about flashcard reviews, which I should mention, is that you can do them whenever. Like you don't need to reserve like 20 minutes a day to do flashcards. Just like, oh, I'm in the supermarket queue, I review some flashcards, right? Oh, I'm going to the bathroom, just review some flashcards. And that's a very easy, low effort way of doing it and learning a lot in time that you wouldn't use otherwise as well. All right, any other?
Hi, Dominic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. Like, I love the way that like it's the Chinese language. Like the videos you made, like the way that Elon Musk learns and stuff like this. Like, how do you use a framework? Like, so the framework that you use to basically put into and map it out. What framework is that you use to learn Chinese here? Is it like your own created framework, or is it like based upon something? So I wanted to like try another framework and then try and build it out myself in Traverse. So yeah, just thought it's really interesting. I love the way that it's a really neat template. I'm like, it's really good.
Yeah, so actually this framework is based on a couple of different frameworks. So I mean, yeah, there's the Learning How to Learn course by Barbara Oakley, which provides a very good framework. And also, yeah, the course that you mentioned, like the knowledge organization, all of that is kind of based around that as well. But then I took some ideas specific to language learning as well for this one. So there's like Stephen Crack was this kind of inputs theory, which basically says like you just have to listen, read, listen to the language, immerse yourself, and then your brain will pick that up. And once you actually understand it, you can hear the different words, you can read them, then it will be very easy to speak and write. So it's like the input hypothesis. So yeah, that are some of the ideas behind the immersion part that I just talked. And then there's some other frameworks. For example, Scott Young wrote a book, Ultra Learning, which I really like. And it also has like 9 principles that make up kind of the framework of learning something quickly. And like the directness that I mentioned is one of those. So like if I want to learn how to write a character, then I should practice that, and it shouldn't, or the opposite, maybe in Mark's case, if I want to learn how to speak, then I shouldn't waste my time on learning how to write characters, right? Because yeah, just do the direct thing. And then yeah, Chris Lonsdale is another also polyglot whose ideas have kind of gone into this. Yeah, so it's kind of a mixture of I think 3 or 4 different frameworks in this case. Then I see how to set up Traverse as a course system and only let people access the next area if they correctly answer a question. Okay, so you kind of want to use it as a quiz. So we don't really have that at the moment, because I mean the idea behind the flashcards is for people to learn better by themselves, rather than the teacher kind of quizzing them and say like, oh, you have to pass this before you. So I would probably, if you want that in your course, I would recommend to just put it in text, like, oh, make sure you practice this flashcard and you actually understand it before moving on. So yeah, make it kind of like a soft barrier or guidance rather than a hard barrier. I don't know if that's going to work for you, but that's what I would recommend. Cool. Any other questions or comments? We have less than a minute left. Oh, I see you mentioned certificate sending as well. Yeah, certificates is actually something that we do have on our roadmap. Hopefully, like by the end of the first quarter of 2022, we'll be able to create certificates and send those. All right. Cool. Then if no more questions, then that's it. And thank you all for attending.